Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto falls in love with Vados, part 1. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. Up on a platform high in the sky, two fighters were locked in combat. Though to the eyes of the less powerful or perceptive they wouldn't know anything is going on at all. All they would hear would be occasional booms. The first is a tall, muscular humanoid with purple skin, flattened ears, a bald head, and red eyes. He wears a long, dark purple, blue, and gray coat. He wears a dark cyan undershirt, dark purple elbow and knee pads, and dark purple wrist guards. He has a dark cyan belt with a yellow buckle. His pants are dark cyan, and he wears a pair of dark purple boots with black toe and heel armor. This man was the legendary assassin Hit. His opponent is a black-haired man who looks no older than 20. His attire consists of a sleeveless dark gray, a long-sleeved black undershirt with a turtleneck, a red sash, black pants, and white boots. He wears a single gold and green Patara earring on his left ear. This man is Naruto Black, one of the only two of his former Universe 10. The two separate after Naruto had blocked an attack from Hit. Having created enough distance, Naruto powered up into his super form and appeared in front of Hit, then threw a fast straight right. Right before his attack would have connected, Naruto knew what was coming next. He felt the change around them for a split second, and quickly brought up his hands to cover his face in an X fashion. Sure enough, a kick had come right for his head. Unfortunately for him though, the kick managed to get through his defense faster than he had anticipated. As a result, he was sent flying back a few feet. He regained his balance in the air, and skied to a stop on the ground a few feet away. Your time skip has improved again, Naruto comments, as he gets in a fighting position once more. As he stood, he suddenly felt the change once more, then felt a pain in his abdomen, and dropped down to a knee. He looked up at Hit, who was in a fighting position before it came to him. It started out as 25ths of a second. Then it was a 10th of a second. Now after that last attack, I'd say you're at about half a second. Naruto analyses. He felt that he'd been punched roughly 20 times. Also in a fighting position, he replies, that's correct. His face is still stoic. I've recently been able to improve upon it. Naruto narrows his eyes, and bends his knees slightly before disappearing once more. He threw a barrage of punches, and kicks all at different speeds. Once he found an opening, he shot a kick to Hit's left side. Once more, as the kick was about to connect, he felt a change around them. He brought his right hand up to cover his face, but once more was too late. Hit had connected with a vicious left hook. Creating distance once more, Naruto asked, alright, do you want to step it up a bit? He asked, as a dark energy with a light pink outline surrounded him. Since it was Hit who had initiated the spar, Naruto wanted to know how far they'd push themselves. Hit thinks about it for a second before dropping his fighting stance, and putting his hands back in his pockets. No, we're done for now, he says, as he heads to a ledge near the edge of the platform. Naruto does the same before powering down, allowing his hair to return to its regular black. Following the assassin, he asks, so how was the tournament? Must have been something if you managed to improve your time skip. He asks, as he sits on the ledge. It was interesting, comments Hit, as he rests with his eyes closed, as he's known to do. Now that caught Naruto's attention. There's not much out there that can catch the man's attention. So he knew it had to be good. How so? There were two in this tournament, he comments. Naruto tilted his head in confusion, not understanding how that would be interesting. So? There's plenty of Saiyans here, he says, referring to Kaba and a few others he's seen. At this, Hit lets a small smirk appear on his face. They have a variation of your own transformation, and I'm not talking about your regular super. They call it Super Saiyan Blue, though I'm unsure if it's as strong as yours, since you've never fought at full power against me. It's definitely something to be aware of, he says. Okay, now they were getting somewhere. What are their names? He was now interested in these two warriors. When he arrived here, he was hoping to find strong warriors, but he was let down with the quality of the thought. Goku and Vegeta. Both of them are stronger than our own Saiyans here on Universe 6. The one named Vegeta even managed to help Kaba transform into a super. Naruto was shocked for two reasons. Number one, he's never heard Hit say this much in one day. He's usually reserved and quiet. Second, they're out there with powers similar to his, and one of them even shares a name with his brother. Heh, I'd like to meet them. If you're actually praising them, then they must be strong, he comments. The assassin opens one of his eyes and looks his way. You would have met them had you made your power known, he comments. Naruto puts his hands behind his head and replies, nah, the only person who knows what I'm actually capable of is you, and even then you don't know the actual extent. Not even Champa knows about it. Though I have a feeling now that he saw those transforms, he'll ask Kaba about it to see if he knows anything. Standing up off the ledge, Naruto stretches and cracks a few bones before turning to his friend. Well, I'm gonna go congratulate Kaba on his transformation. I'll see you later, he says, as he starts walking towards the edge of the platform. There's one more thing, Hit says, stopping Naruto. Said man turns to the assassin with an eyebrow raise. After the tournament, the Omni King appeared before us, he said, shocking Naruto. He'd heard of him, but had never seen him. It was decided that there would be another tournament in the near future, however, this one will be with every universe included. With that being said, Hit jumped and flew off the platform into the distance. He had decided to keep the bit about Champa, almost killing them for losing, and bringing shame upon him out though. Then stared at the direction his friend flew off in, and spoke to himself. A universe-wide tournament, huh? Could be fun. With that he too flew off the ledge. Planet Sabella. He got there in little time, and immediately headed to the training ground he knew Kaba frequented. He was not disappointed when he saw the young man throwing punches and kicks in mid-air at a pretty decent speed. Above all else he was doing it in his new super form. As Kaba was going through some more punches he stopped when he sensed someone to be near him. The sound of someone landing on the ground a few seconds later confirmed it for him. He looked over and saw Naruto on the ground waving at him. Smiling, he dropped his super form and went down to join his friend. Naruto-san. Kaba greets. What's up, Kaba? I heard you had unlocked a transformation, so I came over here to check it out. Naruto replies. Kaba instantly powered up with a confident smile on his face as he transforms into a super. That's correct, Naruto-san. This is called a super. I was taught by a fellow from Universe 7. He tricked me into getting angry, and I awoke this power. He explains. How did you know about it though? Het told me. He replied, as he continued analyzing Kaba's new power. It had definitely grown. He was probably the strongest on the planet right now, besides him, but Kaba didn't know that. Kaba replies, not knowing what else to say really. He didn't know how Naruto became friends with the man. Naruto was an outspoken person, and was generally in a good mood all the time, whereas Hit hardly ever spoke, and always had an angry look to him. In his opinion, when it came to friends, they were the strangest combination. That reminds me of Kaba. Naruto starts. Hit also told me about those that you guys met from Universe 7. What are your thoughts on them? He asks, wanting to know about them from his experience. They're really strong. Stronger than us. He says the last part a bit more quietly. Vegeta-san was the one that taught me how to transform into a super by saying he'd blow up the planet and everyone I loved. In rage I transformed and fought back. I thought I was doing good, but he was holding back. He had a transformation called Super Saiyan Blue and beat me in one punch. Goku-san can also use blue. I think they might be being trained by Beerus-sama. He says, if they're being trained by a god of destruction, then they must be strong. Now I have to meet them, and I think I know just how to do that. He thinks to himself. Thanking Kaba for the info, and once more congratulating him on getting stronger. Naruto left. He needed some rest, and to plan out exactly what he was going to say. A few days later Hit and Naruto were once again training, neither going all in just simple training sessions, as they're known to do. As Naruto prepared to strike, Hit spoke. I heard something I think you'd be interested in hearing. Your kid brother was in Universe 7's Earth recently. The assassin comments. Naruto immediately drops his fighting stance. His brows furrowed in confusion. What was he doing there? We have no business with Universe 7. Naruto asks, trying to figure out just what his brother might be doing. I was told he was fighting with the two from Universe 7 I was telling you about. Goku and Vegeta. He informs him I was told the last they saw of him he left through some sort of black portal. My guess is he's messing with time. Hit tells him. Naruto meanwhile continues thinking what exactly his brother thinks he's doing. Going to Universe 7 to pick a fight with two, one's being trained by Lord Beerus no less. Hit, do you think you could get in contact with Champa for me? He asked the assassin. What for? Asked Hit, trying to figure out what Naruto was planning. Not only that, but talking to the god of destruction wasn't exactly what he wanted to do. The threat of being killed after the fight with Son Goku still left a bad taste in his mouth. I need to talk to him, well more like I need a favor from him, but you get the point. He answers. Very well, but you loan me one. Hit says, agreeing. The following day the two once again found themselves in their usual training area, however this time they had company. The first was Champa, a purple cat-like humanoid, similar to Beerus, but with a plumper build contrasting Beerus, and likewise a much shorter tail. He wears clothing which resembles that of the ancient Egyptian royalty like Beerus, complete with a red and pink color with white linings on both edges, corresponding with Vados, his attendant. Vados is a tall humanoid with pale blue skin, violet eyes, and long white hair, similar to Whis, although she wears it as a high ponytail. She carries a long scepter with a gem that floats above it, and she usually holds her staff in her right hand. Around her neck is a large light blue ring. Her attire consists of green robes, a black cuirass with the same white and orange circle decorations as the god of destruction Champa, and a red sash. She also wears white high-heeled shoes with black soles. Okay Hit, we're here, now what do you want? You've never reached out to me like this before. The god of destruction asked, crossing his arms looking annoyed. Before Hit could reply, Naruto walked forward and bowed in front of the god and his assistant. Hello Champa-sama, Vados-sama, I'm Naruto Black. I was the one who asked him to get in contact with you. He admits. Both deities turn to look at him. Champa scrunches his face in confusion while Vados clarifies for him. From Universe 10 Champa-sama. Okay, what do you want? He asked rudely. I wanted to request a service from Vados-sama. He explains, looking at the angel. Said angel just raised an eyebrow and looked over to see what Champa would do. What would I get out of it? He wasn't going to let someone get a favor from him without something in return after all. I heard about the tournament that is to take place for Zeno-sama. Should you grant me this request, I'll participate in this universal tournament and represent both you and Universe 6. I already have a few in mind for the tournament, one of which just underwent a transformation making him more powerful. He said, referring to Kabadam plus Hit, whose power is near mine. Why would I need some no-name from Universe 10? He asked rhetorically. It took a great deal of self-restraint to not strangle the god where he stood, but he managed it. Rather than let his anger get him, he had an idea. Vados-sama, he called for her attention. Can you create a barrier that won't allow energy to escape, as well as not letting anyone see us? The request piqued her interest. She raised her scepter in the air, and in seconds a light blue dome surrounded the area where he and Hit would train. Naruto spread his feet apart slightly, and bent his knees, as he powered up. Everyone watched, as a black energy surrounded him while the inside of the energy was a very dark pink. The ground beneath them began breaking until finally the entire dome was consumed by the power he was emitting. When it finally died down, it showed Naruto in his transformed form. His hair was pink, which also had pure white highlights. His eyebrows were also pink, as well as his eyes. His entire body was also highlighted in a dark pink aura. He's much stronger than all those years ago. His aura didn't feel this strong before, Hit thinks to himself, as he watches his friend transform. What? Yelled Champa, shocked that there was someone else besides Hit with power that could potentially rival his own. He had planned on leaving the moment he made that stupid request, but now if I have him on the team, I could rub it in Beerus's stupid face that he is stronger than theirs. He thinks to himself, as he tries to control his glee. Well, what do you think of Champa-sama? I call this Super Saiyan Rose. Are you sure you'd like to pass up on me joining your team? Naruto asks, trying not to sound like a smartass. Champa was important to him right now. Trying to save some face, Champa put a hand up to his chin and pretended to think about his request. Very well. Vados helps the Saiyan with what he needs. I'm going to go eat. Of course, Champa-sama, she replies, as they watch Champa leave. She turns to Naruto and asks, so what is your request for me? Can you show me what my brother is doing right now? She taps her scepter on the ground, and a projection appears from out of the gem floating atop her scepter. The image that appears is that of his brother fighting the two Hit had told him about. It was uncanny how they were practically twins and had the same name. The two were fighting in their super blue form, while his brother was fighting in his rose form. Vados-sama, can you take us to the battle, but keep us hidden from detection? I can't, we will be in a barrier created by me. So long as we stay in the barrier, we'll be undetectable to anyone except for any other angels that may be in the area. Naruto looks over at Hit, who hadn't said anything the whole time this has gone down. Yo, you want to come with us? Hit looks at the screen and sees Goku using a Kamehameha and nods in agreement. Vados creates the barrier around the three of them and they head out. Naruto, Hit, and Vados appeared in a destroyed city. By the looks of things, one would imagine it was abandoned after being used as a war grounds, which honestly wasn't too far off from the truth. The trio's attention was drawn to the unmistakable sound of fists colliding. Naruto noticed a flash of pink collide with a flash of blue. He watched as his brother, along with the apprentice of Goasu, fought two blue-haired, which could only be Goku, and Vegeta. Looks like Hit wasn't kidding when he said they had a transformation similar to his own. He'd have to talk to them once this was over. Hit meanwhile had his own thoughts on the matter, though they weren't on Goku, Vegeta, or the white-haired Kai. Rather, it was on Black. Something is off with his transformation. His version of Rose is much weaker than Naruto's. In fact, it seems similar to his accomplice. Hit wasn't the only one thinking this, as Naruto had extended his senses to get a feel for everyone on the battlefield. Doing this, he quickly deduced what was wrong. He's been granted the same power as Zamasu, that's why his Rose isn't as powerful. He's using a tainted version. Idiot. They watched as Vegeta landed punch after punch on Black before kicking him through a couple buildings. Zamasu seemed like he wanted to help, but was being stopped by Goku, who hit him with a strong kick, leaving him in a crater on the ground. So what are you going to do? Hit asked, still watching the battles. He was impressed. It hadn't been too long since the exhibition match, and the two had gotten much stronger, especially Vegeta. For now, we watch until we get an idea of just what my brother is trying to do, he responded. As it turned out, they wouldn't have to wait too long to get their answer, as Black detached himself from the wall Vegeta had embedded him in. You mortals are becoming more of a nuisance, Black says, as he looks over at Zamasu. Playtime is over. For these mortals who continue to ignorantly desecrate the gods, it's time to show the true power of gods, he says, as he flicks his earring. So he believes he's no longer a human, huh? Naruto said out loud, as he listened to his brother's monologue. If I had to guess, I'd say he's been corrupted by his accomplice, said the Angel of Universe 6. Once more Naruto extended his senses, only this time he focused it a little more on the two, and found out Vados was correct. They had almost completely similar energy. At this point in time they're basically the same person. Who knows how long it's been like this for. Not only that, but he also felt the energy of two others in the area. One was familiar while the other was similar to the first. Goasu was here. The Supreme Kai of Universe 10 was someone Naruto always got along with. Then let us begin, says Zamasu, as he removes his earring and holds it up. Having had enough of this, the Elder Black decided it was time to go. Hit the assassin nods, and they disappear from the dome Vados had them in. Said Angel stayed, wanting to see how this would play out. Something about this was interesting. Just to make sure this goes on without any interruption. Black says, as he begins charging up black energy in his hands. Just as Goku and Vegeta were going to counter with their own attack, something happened. 1 minute Black is about to attack, the next minute both him and Zamasu are shot in opposite directions. What the hell just happened to Kakarot? Asked Vegeta, as he looked around for any new threats. I don't know, but we should be more alert. Goku responded. Before they could say anything else, two warriors appeared in front of them, one of which they both quickly recognized. The other stood there, Zamasu's in hand. Hit. Goku says joyously. Vegeta wasn't as enthusiastic, his defeat still lingering in his mind. What are you doing here? Goku continued. And who's this? So you two are the Saiyans Hit told me about. Naruto began. My name is Naruto Black. The moment the words left his lips everyone tensed up. Goku and Vegeta put a bit of distance between them, as a precaution. Seeing their reaction, Naruto said, there's no reason to get so tense, and on guard, I'm not like him. And in case any of you were wondering, yes, we're related. He's my younger brother by ear. They all looked up, as they saw Black had pulled himself out of the rubble he'd been thrown in, and was floating ominously over them, though he was glaring at both Hit and Naruto. Naruto Black sat through clenched teeth, unhappy with the unexpected turn of events. The appearance of his brother wasn't something he was expecting just yet. This would make things more difficult. What are you doing here? He followed up. Zamasu appeared next to him, wiping the blood off his mouth from the kick that had sent him away. I should be the one asking you that. We have no business in Universe 7, so imagine my surprise when I hear you're over here causing problems. And what the hell is all this about mortals you keep going on about? Naruto asked in disappointment. TSK. You wouldn't understand, Naruto. You've always hung around with the insects of our universe. Even after meeting the gods you went back to those bugs. I used to be like you, until I saw how despicable humans can be. I learned that, as long as humans exist we will never live in a peaceful world. The only way for that to happen is to erase all mortals, and have a universe of gods only. He finished by slightly raising his hands, and flaring his power. If you were smart you, and your friend would get out of here, and let us finish our business. Comments Zamasu. Should you leave now we promise that the two of you will be spared when we get rid of the mortals in the other universes. Naruto just shook his head. The two of you are stupid beyond belief. You. He said pointing to you should know I don't take orders that I don't agree with, especially from someone weaker than me. Hell, I even ignored some of Russia's orders. And you. He turned his attention to his brother. I always knew you made stupid decisions, but this one by far is the worst one. You took power from the Wano Kai just to try and pull this little stunt off. You allowed yourself to be given power like some sort of charity case. You are a disgrace to the Saiyan race. He finished angrily. Heh, you got that right. Vegeta agreed with him. So if you're related to him then that means you can also turn into this Super Saiyan Rose. It was said more as a statement than a question. Naruto looked at him before turning his attention back to Black. Suddenly the surrounding area felt differently, as Naruto also transformed into his rose form. Everyone felt the change in the atmosphere, as Naruto's rose form was on a completely different level than that of Black's. Somewhere off in the distance the Supreme Kais of Universe 7 and 10 also felt the power Naruto was emitting. Black's eyes widened a fraction, as he recognized who that power belonged to. It was one he hadn't felt in a few years. That power, it's definitely Naruto. Goasu says. Shin looks over at him in confusion, not having heard of such a person here. Who is that Goasu? The Supreme Kai smiled. A powerful warrior from my universe. Our chances of survival have just increased dramatically. So it's not just Black who can transform. Goku says, interested in meeting another person who can do the rose transformation. How did you achieve it? He asked, and although Vegeta didn't say anything he too wanted to know. I achieved this form after fighting with the god of destruction from my universe. I'm interested in knowing how you two came about getting a similar blue form. He said, as he looked at them. He was going to do the same, but they felt 2 jumps in power, and watched as Black and Zamasu began powering up. Stay out of it, he's my brother. If anyone's going to put him down it's gonna be me. Naruto said, as he seemingly disappeared from his spot on the ground. He appeared between them, and moved his head to the side, allowing his brother's punch to miss him completely. He lifted his left forearm to block an oncoming kick from Zamasu, and quickly grabbed the man's leg, and threw him aside. He quickly had to move aside to avoid a pink energy blade that was being aimed his way. Though throughout all of this he wasn't fazed. He once more moved aside letting Black swing with the blade before stopping it with one of his own. He then caught a punch with his free hand, pulled him down, and shot an into Black's shin, propelling him upwards. He seemingly teleports above Black, and sends him crashing back down with a Black Kai Blast. He turned his attention over to Zamasu, who was looking at him through narrowed eyes, clearly not at all happy with the turn of events. Naruto lifted one hand, and motioned him to try and attack. He then put both hands behind his back, and flared his power. He begins dodging, and weaving through both their attacks without removing his hands from behind his back, making no effort to attack back at the moment. Simply letting them tire themselves out. He smacked away punches, and kicks coming from both gods in unison, before thrusting a palm at Zamasu. The green man dodged, and ignited his hand with his purple energy, but before he was able to do anything he was met with a kick to the chin, and the body of Black crashing into him. Neither man got time to react, as they felt themselves hit a stone pillar. Zamasu was barraged by well-calculated punches that he managed to dodge for the first 3 seconds. His guard was broken by a straight right that damaged his neck for sure. Naruto relented, and floated back in the air, and looked down on them. He put his hands back behind him, and waited for them to try again. This enraged Zamasu to no end. This mortal was playing with them. Even worse was that he had his earring. That was the key to their success. Black appeared beside Naruto with his hand ignited with his pink energy blade, and went to swipe at him to no avail. It was blocked by Naruto's own black one. Naruto looks at him before closing his eyes. Pathetic was all he said before appearing behind Black, and piercing him through the back, and kicking his body down. Down below, many people had their own thoughts as to what was going on in the sky. Hit took notice of the form Naruto was using. That form is the same one he used when we first fought before he found out about my time skip. He gave up using it against me after realizing my time skip would counter him. Now, however, he gave his friend a hard stare. Friends they may be, but they were also warriors. He wanted to know how he would fare now. Vados, who still hadn't moved from where they landed, also had thoughts to weigh in on the matter. That's the form we teach the gods of destruction. His form has its flaws, but for a mortal that's the best I've ever seen someone replicated in battle. To lower beings it's almost perfect. Seems like Rumsey took an interest in him. She thought to herself, she wouldn't mention this too, but she'd have to have a talk with this. Vegeta, do you see it? Goku asks, not to take his eyes off Naruto. If he wasn't interested in this news before, he definitely was now. Vegeta, knowing exactly what he was talking about, nods. Yeah, he fights almost exactly like Beerus. Just who the hell was this guy? Yeah, except his movements aren't as smooth. It's not second nature to him like it is to Beerus-sama. There's something different about his way. Goku comments. While he may not be a genius in the conventional sense, his fighting IQ is part of the reason why he's so strong. To him and Vegeta, seeing the difference was easy. I've indulged your foolishness for too long, brother. Naruto says, whatever people were thinking or doing immediately stopped. Naruto used a burst of speed to kick Zamasu a few feet from him, and picked up Black by his pink hair. You had your chance to stop this nonsense, but you refused to listen, much to your disadvantage, and to my annoyance. And that is not forgivable. Everyone watched, as the aura around Naruto began to flare up once more. Combinations of black and pink lightning surrounded him, as his power continued to grow. This kept up until next to Naruto, a clone of him appeared. The most astonishing part, however, was that the clone was also in Super Saiyan Rose form. Out of all the spectators in the audience, none was more shocked than Shin. How? He manages to croak out. I've seen cloning techniques before, but there's an obvious flaw. Power needs to be divided equally between the original and the clones, so if there's one clone they should both have half power. But this clone is also in Rose form, and doesn't feel any less strong. Just who is this? He thought to himself watching the fight. Now then Naruto begins, still not having let go of Black. I'm afraid if I leave you alone you'll continue causing problems. Big enough to where even Zeno-sama might have to be called, and I can't allow that. He raised his right hand, and summoned a dark purple ball of energy that caught everyone off guard once more. That's Hakai energy, Goasu points out, wondering how Naruto got a hold of it. I'm an immortal, brother. No matter what you do I can't be killed, Black laughs, coughs. Naruto says nothing, but slams the dark energy into his brother's gut, and lets go in time to watch the ball trap him. Black stops his maniacal laugh, and begins looking around, panicking, as he watches his body begin to erase from existence, starting from the feet and hands. What? How? I'm immortal, I can't be killed, I can't be killed. The rest was cut off, as his body deteriorated completely. Zamasu stood still, eyes wide open, feeling genuine fear for the first time. He was about to flee when he felt an immense pain in his back and internal organs. As he hit the ground he managed to see behind him, and found Hit, standing with his hands in his pockets looking down on him. Hit knew you'd probably try something stupid like running. He used his time skip, and took you down for me. I appreciate that, by the way. He adds at the end to the assassin. Hit just nods. Naruto releases the clone, and gathers some divine Kai into his hands, and forms another black energy ball, and releases it to the immobilized form of Zamasu. When the blast finally calmed down they saw the destroyed body of the Kai. His lower half was gone, as well as his left arm. I know you're immortal, however injuries taken by divine Kai-infused attacks take longer for you to regenerate from. He bends down and picks him up by the throat before tossing his form at the feet of Goasu. Take him to Russia. He told the Universe 10 Kai. Have him erase him with Hakai. Goasu looks down at the dismembered form of his apprentice and sighs sadly at what he became. Son Goku Hit calls out. When the tournament begins, be ready. This time I won't be holding back. He comments. Goku smirks, already getting excited at the thought of a rematch with Hit. Count on it. Naruto Hit calls out as he nods his head in Vados' general direction. Right with it, the two of them disappeared, leaving only the inhabitants of Universe 7 and Goasu. I can't believe Trunks comments, looking at the body of Zamasu. This brought all the attention to the time traveler. He handled Black and Zamasu like nothing. Who was that? He asked a case. You know something, don't you? Vegeta asks Goasu. The old Kai sighs and nods. Naruto Black is, or rather was, a warrior from my own Universe 10. He was always powerful, so much so that he became our God of Destruction's unofficial apprentice. Similar to how Zamasu was with me. He states. So that's why he fought so similarly to Beerus-sama. The angels teach the gods their martial arts. Goku comments, things making more sense now. But wait, I don't understand. Vegeta added, if he was from your universe, what was he doing with the hitman from Universe 6? When Naruto was still training with Russia, word was going around that he'd be succeeding him as the God of Destruction in the coming years, but they had a falling out. They had different views on how problems should be handled in the universe. I'm not quite certain of the details, but the arguments eventually escalated to a battle in which Naruto did manage to injure Rumsey before leaving his domain. Days later he left the universe completely. How he did so I'm not sure, I hadn't heard from him since. I was quite surprised when I saw him appear today with the universal hitman from Universe 6. So that's why he's so strong. If he was the apprentice of a God of Destruction, Black and Zamasu were probably nothing to him. Trunks states. Do you think he'll be participating in the tournament? Shin asked. I can almost guarantee it. Goasu said, as he picked up his apprentice. Well, I have to take this to Rumsey-sama. I'll see you all at the tournament. He said, as he disappeared. Well, we better go tell Beerus-sama that everything got handled and prepare for the tournament. It looks like it's gonna be harder than we first imagined. Goku said, as they all left the scene. The trio arrived back at Hit's training ground where they had first departed from. The protective dome that Vados created for them was released, and they were free. Well, that was certainly interesting. Vados comments, as she looks over at the two warriors. She didn't know Hit and Naruto had teamwork the way they did. They didn't even talk before taking Zamasu down. That's one word for it, I guess. Naruto comments, looking mildly upset. Well, as interesting as that was, it's time for me to go. Goodbye now. She says before being engulfed in white light and disappearing. Hit looks over at his fellow warrior and says, you had to destroy your own brother today. That couldn't have been easy. How are you feeling? He asked, his demeanor still serious. To anyone else it may seem strange seeing the universal assassin asking about a person's feelings, but just like anyone else he cared about those he saw as comrades. In all honesty, I'm feeling a bit down about it. I killed my own brother. I'd rather not have done it, but he was becoming a danger not only to himself, but to everyone else. If I hadn't been the one to kill him, I fear Zeno-sama would have had to be called, and that wouldn't have ended well for anyone. He needed to be put down. He said with conviction. He was about to comment when a beeping noise sounded from his pocket. He pulled out a green jewel-looking apparatus and held it out in the palm of his right hand. The image of an overweight, light blue-skinned alien appeared from the jewel. He had lots of jewelry with slick-back blonde hair, as well as an arrogant smirk on his face. Naruto got a look at the man and commented, looks like a typical mob boss. Someone must have a lot of money to hire you of all people to kill this guy. Hit nods, knowing it's expensive to hire him. I've got a job, I'll see you around. He says, as he stuffs his hands in his pockets and flies off. Naruto watches as the purple light fades away. With his power these guys are as good as dead. He comments to himself. As he said those words a sudden thought came to mind. Yeah, that might just work. Vados appeared beside Champa, who was dressed in a white sleeping gown and was currently snoring in his bed. Champa-sama. She said, effectively ending his nap. I've returned. I can see the Vados. He said angrily, upset that his sleep had been interrupted. He was dreaming about beating Beerus into the ground before she had woken him up. So what did the Saiyan want? He asked, sitting up, rubbing the crust out of his eyes. He wanted to take care of some business regarding his brother. While we're on the subject of the young Saiyan though, I think he'll be a great asset during the tournament. Assuming the other universes don't have extremely powerful warriors, as well. She says. Why is that? He asks. He's very skilled. In terms of raw power alone, I'd say in a few years he'd probably be able to kill Sidra. She comments. Possibly Rumsey, as well. She added the last part in her head. While Sidra is one of the weaker gods of destruction, he's still a god nonetheless. She adds. Looks like I hit the jackpot with this one. He laughs, thinking about how he could rub this in Beerus's face. As for the other universes, there's a way to find out. Bring me the Saiyan tomorrow, I've got a plan. Those fools from the other universes will have no idea what hit them. I almost feel sorry for them. He says happily. I only feel sorry for one fool, and it's not the other gods. She says laughing at the end. Huh? Champa asks, confused, not getting what Vados had said. Whatever, I'm going back to sleep. The following day, in a secluded part of Earth, Naruto was having a sparring session against a clone of himself, both in super form. He was working on increasing his speed. After having taken that attack from Hit, his time skip had increased to half a second. He knew he needed to be faster. Either I have to be fast enough to land a hit on him before he does his time skip, or I have to react fast enough to block wherever he's going to come at me from. He says to himself, as he begins dodging, and blocking an assault from himself. The two exchanged punches, and kicks, none of which were connected. TSK. Useless. He says, as he releases his clone, and feels more power return to him. The only way I'm going to get better is to fight someone strong. My brother and Zamasu weren't even close to making me take it seriously. As he spoke to himself he stopped, as he felt the arrival of another person behind him. Turning around he saw Vados floating just a few feet away from him. She touched down on the ground, and looked around noticing some of the damaged rocks in the area. Vados-sama, what are you doing here? Do you need something from me? He asked, bowing slightly. I'm here because Champa-sama would like to have a word with you. He didn't tell me what he wanted to talk to you about though. You never know what's going on in that head of his. She says. Releasing his super form he sighs. Lead the way he says, as he walks over to her. You sound more annoyed than anything else. She comments having heard the silent sigh. Most people would be rather afraid when told the god of destruction wanted a word with them. I'm not really too fond of Champa. He's kind of an idiot. No offense. He added at the last second knowing he had just insulted her martial arts student. To his relief she just laughed. No, you're right, he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And, as for the second part of your question, he began, as her scepter began glowing. I'm not afraid of him. With that the light engulfed them, and they were gone. They reappeared at the center of Champa's castle. This was Naruto's first time here, and I had to admit it was a pretty cool place. It was certainly different from Russia's base. About time you got here. He hears from his side. There was Champa eating something he hadn't seen before. And he asks Champa-sama, I was told you wanted to see me. Finishing whatever it was, the god answered. Yes. So I've been thinking. Amazing, Naruto whispers almost inaudibly to himself. He went rigid, as he heard Vados chuckle slightly from her spot next to Champa. Fearing the god might have heard, and they'd have to fight, he looked over at the deity, and to his relief he was still talking. We're going to need an edge in this tournament. He finishes. Makes sense. If you could give your team the best possible chance of winning, why not do it? How will we get it? He asked, now curious, as to what the god had in mind. We already have a slight edge with you, and hit on the team. The two of you are powerful individually, and together I'm sure you two could be a near unstoppable duo. But my plan is to have you go spy on the other universes. He says, looking at Naruto to gauge his reaction. Naruto thought it over, and was somewhat impressed that Champa could have thought of this. If done correctly it could possibly give them an edge, though the part of him wanted to just go in blind, and battle it out with the strongest the others had to offer. So what exactly are we trying to figure out? He says, rubbing his chin. The general stuff, who's gonna be in the tournament, weaknesses, their attacks. Anything to give us an advantage. He finishes while smacking a fist into his palm. I'm impressed he actually had a decent idea. He thinks to himself. Very well, where should we start? Belmont has always gotten on my nerves, stupid clown. He mumbles angrily to himself. You'll start in Universe 11, from there we'll decide where you'll head to after. Nodding he asks, how will I get there undetected? When I first came to Universe 6, Suwa-sama immediately knew I had arrived, and sought me out to ask what I was doing here. He says, remembering when he got here. Champa-sama, I have a suggestion. Why not have him use the cube we were offering Hit during the tournament with Beerus-sama? He'll be able to get in and out undetected like when we gathered the Super Dragon Balls. She suggests. She could have always taken him herself, but she didn't want to be going to different universes for unknown amounts of time. That could work. He says, summoning the cube. Naruto takes it and looks over the palm-sized transparent blue cube. Looking back up he says, I don't think I'll fit in here. Knowing Champa would probably yell at him, Vados explained, it'll expand the moment you push your divine Kai into it. I've already set it up to transport you to a planet on Universe 11. It's programmed to get there, and to bring you back here when activated again. From here we'll reprogram it to the next universe, and so on. Nodding in understanding, he asked Champa, alright, if I'm going to be undercover I'm going to change before leaving. Showing up with an earring would certainly draw attention. As he was about to leave he stopped, as he remembered something from earlier. Actually before I go, Vados-sama, may I have a word? In private. She debated whether to entertain him again or not, but the last time she did she witnessed something interesting. I wonder what it'll be this time. Yes, what do you need from me? She asked. You saw when I destroyed my brother, correct? A nod was his answer. Well, not everything was destroyed. Something survived that little ordeal, he states cryptically. She takes a second to think over what she had seen before the answer came to her. Everyone else was preoccupied with the fight, but as an angel she saw every little detail. His time rings. That's right, I saw it once we had already made it back to you. No one else noticed it in the commotion. I was hoping you'd do me the favor of summoning it for me, he stated. She smirks and taps her scepter on the ground. In between her index finger and thumb the silver time ring appeared. However, she didn't hand it over. Holding it up in front of him with an amused look on her face, she says, time travel is illegal, you know. Even if you were to try and use it, you wouldn't be able to travel to the future, as you are linked to a Supreme Kai. Your brother only managed it because he shared one with Zamasu. So what do you need this for? She asks curiously. Who said anything about having to travel to the future? He countered with a smirk. Ho? And what do you mean by that? She is now happy she decided to humor his request. He explained his idea that he had earlier to her, and waited for her feedback. Tapping her chin, she nodded slowly. I suppose it could work since you're not traveling through time. If you can control your Kai correctly, then it should be possible, she says, and tosses him the ring. Catching it, he puts it in his pocket. Finished with their conversation, they turn back to their god of destruction, who looked irritated being left out of the loop. So how long will I be there? He asked. The details of the tournament haven't been released yet. Once we know for sure, I'll have Vados fetch you if you haven't returned already, he says. Very well, I'm going to change and head out. Anything else, Champasama? He asks. No, that will be all. Get going. After being teleported back to the earth, he changed clothing, removed his earring, and pocketed it along with his time ring. He was now sporting regular black pants with a matching thin jacket. Pulling out the cube, he activated it and stepped inside. The effect was immediate. He felt a slight pulling sensation before he disappeared completely. He appeared in some strange back alley. Looking up, he could make out the night sky and some very high-tech looking high-rise buildings. The cube powers down back to its original size, and he picks it up and pockets it. Zipping up the jacket, walks out into the street. How should I go about this? He says, as he wanders. His stomach growls. As he walks, he realized he hadn't eaten all day today. He looked around and saw a dimly lit ramen sign a street away, and decided that was the place for him. Walking over, he ordered 2 bowls of miso, and sat down off to the side by himself. Picking up a paper that was on the table, he began reading, while keeping his ears open for any info that may float around. Alright, I need to find a place to stay for now. Can't go sleeping on the streets, he thought, as he waited for his food. When it finally came, he ate it in record time. He was really hungry. Luckily, this place accepted the same currency as back in Universe 6. What a stroke of luck. Unfortunately, that meal cost him all he had on him. Walking out, he couldn't help but noticed a drunk guy yelling at nobody next to him approaching. This is my chance. As soon as the man was close enough, Naruto intentionally bumped into the man. Whoa, I'm so sorry, sir. He apologized. Watch where you're going. The man yelled at him and shoved him to the side. Normally he would have gone over to sort the man out. However, he looked back and watched the man continue down the street and pulled his hand out of his pocket. He now had a handful of bills that were going to cover his sleeping expenses. Looking around, he found an inn not too far off. It didn't take long to get there and book a few nights. Looking around his new accommodations, he opens the blinds and stares out the window. How the hell am I going to find out who's in the tournament? He asked himself out loud as he stared at the bright city lights below him. There's so many planets and galaxies in the universe, they could come from anywhere. Damn it, Champa. Deciding to get comfortable, he dresses down to his boxers and sits on the bed. Pulling out the time ring and stares at it for a second. Might as well get some training in, he says, as he also puts on his earring. He sees a plastic water heater on one of the shelves and puts it on the floor. Putting the ring on, he closes his eyes and sits cross-legged on the bed. Had anyone been in the room with him, they'd have seen his body glow dark black with a pink tint, similar to when he transforms. Only difference is that this time there was no transformation. After an hour of meditating, he heard it. Opening his eyes, he saw the broken pieces of plastic and smirked. It worked, he said, panting a bit, as it took more out of him than he expected. The following day, once more he was out in the city trying to get any information he could. As he tried to figure out where to go, the planet shook. He tensed and looked around, gauging the reactions of all the inhabitants. To his surprise, no one was surprised or even worried. In fact, they continued on like nothing strange was going on at all. What the hell? He mumbled, walking over to an elderly woman who was selling little souvenirs, and asked her. Excuse me, ma'am, why isn't anyone freaking out after that? He said, referring to the earthquake. She laughed softly. No, young one, that wasn't an earthquake. It was probably some monster deciding to terrorize somewhere on the planet, she said calmly. Tilting his head in confusion, he said, isn't that all the more reason to worry? You think something attacking your planet would be more of a concern? No, because the Pride Troopers will take care of them. Honestly, the youth these days don't pay attention to anything, do you? On another note, could I interest you in a tea set? She asked, trying to make a sale. Pride Troopers. Now we're getting somewhere. He thanks her, and denies her offer of a tea set, and heads off. He knew where he needed to go. He went down to the nearest electronics store he could find, and headed up to the 5th floor, where all the computers were located. Luckily for him, the one display computer was free. Quickly occupying it, he opened up a search engine, and typed in Pride Troopers. The Pride Troopers. A voice said from behind him. It was one of the workers of the store. You must have heard about the creature attacking earlier. I tell you, if we didn't have the Pride Troopers, I honestly don't know what we'd do. He comments. With Toppo-sama's power, I'm surprised creatures even try. Before he could say anything else, the associate was called away by his supervisor, leaving Naruto to his thoughts. Erasing his previous search, he typed in Toppo. Dear Lord, look at his hands. He comments. Scrolling down, he read how he was the leader of the Pride Troopers, the strongest fighters of evil in the universe. It's a universal tournament. If these guys are the strongest, then they'll most likely be the chosen ones. He goes one by one, clicking on all the names, getting as much information as he could from the internet. Looking around, he walks around the store until he finds a piece of paper and a pen, and begins writing. As he's writing down the most important pieces of info, he comes across something strange. He had written down a lot on 9 of the members, but one of them had no information whatsoever. Just a picture. A buff alien-looking man wearing the typical black and red bodysuit. He was meditating while the others were posing for the photo. There was no description, no power information, no background, notable fights, nothing. There's something off about this guy. Guess who are you? He asks himself as he stares at the picture. Back at his temporary place, Naruto took out the pieces of paper with the notes he took on the Universe 11 warriors. All of them, if not all of them, will be in the tournament, I'm sure of it. He says to himself as he goes over 3 sheets he had separated. The biggest threats in the tournament will be these 3 for sure. Toppo, Dispo, and this gray guy. For the next 2 hours he went through each paper, noting their attacks, and thinking of possible counter strategies, should he need them. Toppo's most notable attack was the bear hug. Of course it is, guy's built like a school bus, he thinks to himself before laughing silently at his diss. Dispo has speed that apparently can't be matched, hopefully his technique can be done by then. A rabbit man that's fast, how original, he thought to himself. Thank Kami that the internet made their power public knowledge. He said to himself. If only they had information on the gray though, that's still bugging him. He was without a doubt the most dangerous one of the whole Universe 11 squad. He just knew it. But well, can't be too greedy I guess. I got a lot of useful information. He says, as he puts the papers away, and gets back on the bed. As per usual when practicing, he closes his eyes, and meditates, allowing his aura to manifest around him. Taking a few deep breaths, the heat wave-like shimmer in the air appeared, as he began. The television in the room levitated a few feet off of the counter it was on, and began turning. It stayed levitated before being placed down, and his shoes began being tossed up and down. Opening his eyes, Naruto saw what was happening, and smirked. He brought his hand up, and briefly appreciated the time ring before throwing his shirt in the direction of the shoes. One shoe dropped, and the shirt stayed in place in the air. Good, it's getting easier, he said, as everything fell. The next day, Naruto left his place, and began wandering around town thinking to himself. What now? I'm almost positive I know who's going to be in the tournament. I know their powers, and for the most part thought of ways to neutralize them, should we have to fight them. Looks like there's no other choice, time to go tell Champ already. As he turned around heading back to the alley where he arrived, he felt a tremor. This one is stronger than the first one he experienced. Unlike last time though, the people were actually running in fear this time. He flies into the air to get a better view, and possibly see what's going on. He found it. It was 5 miscreants with firearms causing mass panic. 2 had RPGs, while the others were shooting semi-automatics. So it was the rocket launchers that caused the tremors. Shouldn't the Pride Troopers be here taking care of this by now? He asked himself, as they took another shot at a building. Decided he couldn't just let this go on, he took off his jacket, and stayed in his black undershirt. He flies in their direction, and upon seeing him they all fire at will. Though it did very little, he was fast enough to move out of the way, and shot a big enough Kai blast that separated them all, as well as injuring them. Looking down, he saw all the gunmen on the ground groaning in pain. That was pathetic. He told them, and charged up several more Kai blasts. He fired about 15 in a second, and that was the end of them. He was about to leave the scene when he heard a voice call out behind him. Stop. You're under arrest for the murder of those 5 individuals. Someone cries from behind him. Turning around, he saw a man. His skin has a tan hue, and his head is shaved. Part of his face is cybernetic, including an ear, and he has a robotic eye which is red. He has a communication device attached to his other ear. He wears a red beret, and a sleeveless green tunic with gold trimmings, and green armbands with gold trimmings. He also wears a belt with a silver buckle, and dark pants. His boots are black and white. Naruto remembered him from the information he got. It was Casserole, and behind him the rest of the Pride Troopers. They're missing 3, he realizes after sizing them up. Well, you weren't around, as they were causing havoc, so I went ahead, and took care of it. Had I not, who knows how many people would have been killed. Besides, you were going to do this, weren't you? He asked. No, they'd be taken into custody and put on trial. No one has been reported dead, so killing them would have been unnecessary. You on the other hand have murdered 5 individuals, and for that you will be brought to justice. Now surrender. Casserole said, as he stepped forward. Wait. I just saved a bunch of people from these guys, and you want to take me in? Not happening. He said. He couldn't believe they were actually gonna try and take him to save the people. Then you leave us no choice but to take you by force. Justice Saber. He yells, as he creates a blade out of Kai in his right hand, and charges. The other members of the Pride Troopers followed suit. Dust's spin. Yelled Swarry, as he created a tornado, and attacked. Seeing Casserole near, he parried the attack by manifesting his own blade, the same one he and his brother use. This caught the general by surprise, as he had never met someone who could mimic his technique. Parrying the attack to the right, he sent a left straight kick to the man's chest, sending him away. He had to move out of the way, as the tornado shot right past him. Landing, he brought his hands up, and began using both hands to block punches and kicks from Kunchi and Tupper. Punches, kicks, it didn't matter, none of them made it past his defense. The two jump back, and are joined by a non-tornado formed by Swarry. Kunchi creates energy threads, and begins sending them his way, creating explosions that kick up dust. He looks at his comrades, and nods while continuing his assault. Naruto looked at the smoke, and saw something coming his way. Double pride spin. Another tornado was coming his way. Just as he was about to move, he noticed Tupper being shot out of it, rolling at him at high speeds while also being set on fire. He briefly wondered how it wasn't hurting him, but disregarded it. He raises his right hand, and for a brief second a pink glow envelops it before allowing Tupper to slam into it. He continues spinning, but everyone notices he's not doing any damage. Before he could stop the roll, Naruto uses the momentum against him, and tosses him over at Vuin, who up to this point had been trying to charge up for some sort of dimensional attack, if his memory served him correctly. The troopers regroup, panting, trying to think of a strategy to take this evil down. My turn. Naruto says, as he seemingly teleports in front of Casserole, and launches a fury of punches to the man's chest area. Punches strong enough that shot him into a building in the distance. Not letting up, he moved to Swarry, who managed to block the first punch, but was overwhelmed, and had no chance to stop the rest. He threw an uppercut which sent the little man in the air. He shot a quick high blast, and moved over to Tupper, as the explosion went off, signaling that Swarry had been hit. Casserole, who pulled himself out of the building, watched as his team was being beaten by this unknown man. He clicked a button on the side of his robotic eye, and waited. 2 minutes later, Naruto had his foot on Kunchi's head, and said, "This could have all been avoided, but you decided you wanted to fight instead. Let this be a lesson to you." He removed his foot, and was about to leave when everyone heard Justice flash. He quickly kicked Kunchi out of the way, and jumped aside, as 4 reddish-orange beams hit exactly where he was standing. Landing off to the side, he saw the newcomer. Toppo, the leader. Toppo, my good friend, it's good to see you here. We're in a bit of a situation. Casserole says, as they look at him. It's no problem, my friend, where there's evil he said the last part looking straight at Naruto. I'm not evil, I was helping these people. They weren't having any of it. Silence. For murdering these people, and attacking the Pride Troopers, you must be dealt with. Looking over at Casserole, he says, you all did well, but I shall handle it from here. He rushes forward, and their fists collide, creating a massive shockwave. They continued throwing punches, and kicks with the occasional Kai blast, but all were matched. Seeing as they weren't getting anywhere, Naruto powered up to his Super Saiyan form. They once more began trading punches, and were even for a few seconds before Naruto found an opening, and landed a straight right to the face. Toppo would block a few, and receive shots to the face and body in succession. Toppo jumps back, and a red aura forms around his body, as he once more rushes in. It was a massive increase in speed, when Naruto hadn't counted on the man having, and took 4 hits to the face and body. He felt his face get grabbed by the giant hand, and was slammed into the ground. He feels himself get picked up again. Not wanting to get slammed, he powers up to Super Saiyan 2, and breaks the hold. The two are once again on even ground. Kicking Toppo in the head, he flies up into the air. Justice flash. Toppo yelled, as he shot the beams. Divine retribution. Naruto yelled, as a pink and black blast left his hand, and collided with Toppo's own. The two pushed back and forth, both trying to win the fight for dominance. Down below, Toppo had his face scrunched into a frown, knowing this man was no ordinary man. He was able to keep up with him, something not many people could do. He felt his opponent's attack weakened slightly, and added more power to his own. Victory was in sight. Toppo? He heard from his comrades. Glancing at them, they pointed to his side, and time slowed down, as he saw what they were referring to. Next to him was a copy of his opponent. What was more alarming was that he was already charging an attack right next to him. Naruto yelled, as he released a large black beam from his hands that enveloped Toppo. The man took it head on. When the smoke finally cleared, Toppo was shown standing on shaky legs. The right half of his upper body had the uniform burned off. Taking a good look, Toppo saw he was right, there were indeed 2 of them now. He didn't care to know how he did it, he just knew this fight had gone on long enough. This guy is something else. I took him lightly, and that was a mistake on my part. Even worse, I feel he's still hiding most of his power, as he doesn't even look winded. I'm beginning to think even at full power I may not be able to win. Even so, should I go down, my trusted friend Jiren cannot be beaten. He thinks to himself, as he once more powers up. The red aura completely engulfed him now, as he rose to full power. Naruto gets into a fighting position, but begins to glow white. What the? In a flash he disappeared. Toppo stops, as well. Castle, can you sense where he's gone? He asks, as he looks around. No sir, he's gone. Toppo looked like he was going to say something, but stiffened for a second. I'm sorry my friends, but I must go. Belmont-sama has called. Naruto looked around, and realized he was back in Champa's domain. He saw the god, and Vados to his left. Champa-sama. What's going on? I just left a few days ago, and you're already calling me back. He asked rapidly, trying to figure out what was going on. Huh? You've been gone for just under a year now. He said, shocking the scene. Before he could say anything, the cat-like man continued. All the gods and Kais have been summoned by the Grand Priest. I brought you back because he also asked for you specifically. Naruto frowned. Why would one of the strongest beings in the universe want to talk to him? We have 5 minutes before he transports us to Zeno's palace. He ordered. Naruto changed with speed he didn't know he had, and was once again in his usual attire, and all. Is everyone ready? They hear through Vados' staff. Soon enough the four were teleported away. They appeared already kneeling alongside all of the other respective destroyers and Kais. He noticed he was behind Vados and Champa rather than by their side. Looking around, he took a look at all the other people in the room. The most notable were a robot, some sort of fish creature, and a clown. Though if he was honest, the clown was lucky, as his angel was a dangerous-looking woman. Before he looked away from her, something else caught his attention. Behind them was a large man. Not just anyone, it was Toppo. You may all lift your heads. They heard the Grand Priest say. Rising, they looked at him, and everyone noticed that next to the king was Son Goku. Though only he and his universe knew him. Elmod, called the Grand Priest. The clown gave his attention. Who is it you brought with you? Ah yes, this is Toppo. You see, I'm thinking of retiring soon, so I've taken to training him to an appropriate level before he can qualify as my official apprentice and successor as the God of Destruction for Universe 11. I brought him here so he could gain some experience in matters like this. He explains. So he's training under God of Destruction. He's definitely strong, that's for sure, but not enough for me to worry about. He thought to himself. I see, very well. Please work hard to become a God of Destruction. He says before turning his attention to Naruto. Ah, Naruto Black. He greets. He notices Toppo looking at him, and narrows his eyes at him. Guess he finally noticed him. I've heard of you. I asked to see you because the last I heard you were the apprentice of the God of Destruction for Universe 10. But now you're here with Universe 6. May I ask why that is? Even though it sounded like a question, everyone knew it was an order. Of course. I was never officially made an apprentice. Similar to the Universe 11 situation, I had yet to reach the proper level in order to become the official successor. I was close, but never actually got there. I left Universe 10 for personal reasons I can disclose to you if you'd like. I was then accepted in Universe 6 by both the Kai and God of Destruction. He explained. Your reasoning won't be necessary. He said you will officially be recognized as a fighter from Universe 6. Now then, I have an announcement from Omni King. It's sudden, but 5 clicks from now, or on the 157th hour of the 3,135,500,603rd day of the King's calendar, there will be a tournament of power. 10 selected members of each universe will compete. This tournament will only be for the universes with the lowest mortal level, that being below 7. Therefore, universes 1, 5, 8, and 12 will be exempt from fighting. As for the rest of you, you fighters will compete in an 80-man free-for-all with the losing universes being erased. He announces. This was met with silent murmurs all around. Well, we know who Universe 11 is going to select. Naruto thinks to himself, glad that he had gotten the information. Said Zeno, who up until now had been quiet. Is there a problem? The Grand Priest asks calmly. I wonder if the gods should participate in this tournament as well. I see. How about an exhibition match then? To see whether or not you like that. He suggests. Whoa. Do it, he yelled happily. Very well, let me create a fighting stage. Within seconds the surrounding area transformed into an elaborate arena, all the gods and Kais standing on their own floating platform over the ring. Now, will all the gods of destruction please enter the fighting arena? The Grand Priest called out. Naruto stood on the platform with Vados and looked down at all the gods. This would be a good opportunity to see what they could do. Son Goku, this is all your fault. Beerus yelled from the arena as he looked at the mortal from Universe 7. This was a bad idea on his end, as all the other gods turned to face him looking less than pleased at the revelation. Probably shouldn't have said that out loud to Vados. She nods and watches as the gods all seem to target Beerus. Naruto had to admit he was impressed by the god of Universe 7. Even against the other 11 he was holding his own pretty well. Finally, after 10 or so minutes of them ganging up on him, Belmont decided to branch off and attack everyone else. He trapped everyone in energy spheres and created kite cards and shot them at everyone. It became a 12-god free-for-all. It seemed all 12 gods had some sort of power that distinguished them. In the end it came down to Beerus versus Cortella, both beaten and bloody. They charged at each other and threw a punch, but were ultimately blocked by the Grand Priest who stopped them both with one finger each. Well damn. Naruto commented on watching the Grand Priest stop gods like they were kids. Unfortunately the fighting was too intense for the Omni King to truly enjoy, therefore the fight was stopped. It has been decided that the gods of destruction will be disqualified from participating in the actual tournament. He says, and turns to Zeno. Should we cancel the tournament? Wait. They hear, and see Goku flying up to Zeno. We won't be like Zen-chan, I promise. While he was busy talking to Zeno, all the gods and Kais were in a state of disbelief that Goku had called the Omni King Zen-chan. Can you show me a fight? Zeno asked Goku. Well, it's not like I mind, but I don't think I can hold up against gods right now. I'll need to get stronger. He replied. Not to worry. Interrupted the Grand Priest, who'll be facing Immortal. Luckily we happen to have two with us here. Which one of you two would like to take on Son Goku in an exhibition match for Zeno-sama? He asked, looking at both him and Toppo. Toppo steps forward and speaks. Before anything I'd like to ask the Grand Priest. Said man nods. Since you're here, are the two of you also God of Destruction candidates? The question was more for Goku, but he still wanted to know if Naruto was going to be replacing Champa, now that he was from Universe 6. No, I don't care about being a god. I just want to get stronger. Goku replies. I was a candidate back on Universe 10, but here on 6 no I'm not. I'm only here because the Grand Priest wished to speak with me. I see. You're both great evil, but for being the cause of this tournament and putting our universes on the line, Son Goku is worse. Therefore I will be your opponent. He says, as he hops into the arena. Do not think I have forgotten about you, Black. I'll get you for what you've done, as well. He states. The gods look at him silently, wondering what he did to piss off Toppo. Naruto merely smirked at the man. He could try. The two stand in the arena facing one another as the Grand Priest begins the fight. Immediately Goku transforms into a Super Saiyan and attacks. It's the same transformation Black did, as he easily dodges the punches Goku throws at him. Blocks, and lands a punch on Goku's face, sending him sliding. No, this version isn't as powerful as Black's. They keep exchanging blows, and Goku powers up to Super Saiyan 2. Toppo notices the difference in power, but it's still not enough to fight on even ground with him. Punches Goku in the stomach, and uses Justice Flash. Goku dodges the beams, and powers up. His eyebrows disappear, as his hair continues to grow until he reaches Super Saiyan 3. Soon he find out that none of these would work, as the first kick he sent Toppo was ducked under, and was met with a clothesline. Toppo took the opportunity to barrage Goku with punches, and kicks, all of which connected. As he was going to attack again, Goku crossed his arms, and a pulse of power exploded from him, as he appeared with red hair. Everyone including the gods felt the change. Finally, the aura of a god. Very well, I will respond in kind. Toppo says, as he too powers up, and lets a crimson aura appear around him, and at that moment everyone knew why he was a candidate for God of Destruction. The two would disappear, and reappear in different parts of the air, clashing, as they struggled for dominance, with Toppo slowly taking the edge. Toppo kicked Goku into the air, and appeared behind him, and got him into a bear hug. It's over, Son Goku. No one has escaped this technique. I'll continue to squeeze until you forfeit. He says, as he applies pressure. Goku struggled for a bit, and seemed he was going to quit until he once more exploded with power. Toppo was forced to let go due to the amount of pressure Goku had released with that power-up. He stood tall, and Super Saiyan Blue activated. He disappeared, and connected a punch at Toppo's stomach which knocked the wind out of him. He was sent into the air, as this repeated multiple times, as Goku would reappear wherever Toppo was sent, and would hit him again. The final hit was a kick to the back which sent Toppo to the ground, creating a crater. Kamehame Goku charged up his attack. Toppo, seeing this, responded. Justice Flash. The red beams were shot up. This is just like how Black Toppo thought to himself, as he prepared himself. Just as expected, he cancelled his attack, and crossed his arms in front of him, defending himself, as Goku appeared in front of him. Ha! He released his attack, and engulfed the Pride Trooper. Everyone waited to see what the outcome of the match was going to be. The smoke cleared, and Toppo only had a small rip on his shoulder. You and Black have besmirched the custom-made uniforms that only the Pride Troopers are allowed to wear. It's the same as defiling our pride. He posed, I will show you true justice. Go ahead, Goku answered, as he gained a reddish glow on his blue form. Show me your real power. I'll show you what it looks like once I've passed my limit. He said, as he was engulfed in red aura as well. Naruto felt his power increase by about 10 times. That's enough, commanded the Grand Priest. I want to see him pass his limit, whined Zeno. At this rate one of them will end up dead. It would ruin the tournament of power. Why don't we save the rest for the tournament? Down below, Goku went to shake Toppo's hand, but the man just turned around. I have no intention of shaking an enemy's hand. I hate to bring joy to you, but I'm not the strongest person in Universe 11. He says. I knew it. Naruto thought to himself. An image of the great guy popping up in his head. That title belongs to my sworn friend Jiren, a man so powerful not even our god of destruction can defeat him. If you're equally matched with me, you'll never win. He says, as he leaves. Well, Champa-sama, it seems everything is done here. Vados says. Yeah, let's gather our warriors. We don't have much time. He says. Vados taps her scepter, and they disappear. They appeared at Champa's place, and immediately the god asked him. What did you learn? He pulled out the sheets of paper he had folded up in his old clothing, and handed them over. The cat went over the sheets grinning more and more every time he sorted through. That was until he got to the last one. Why is this one blank? He asked. There was no information about him over there, but during the fight today I heard Toppo mention something. He said his name is Jiren, and he's supposed to be stronger than even their god. He said. What? A mortal stronger than a god, and he didn't know about it. This was bad. Okay, we'll just have to make sure all of our warriors are top tier then. Champa said. Well, so far the strongest members we have are Naruto and Hit. Vados says. Who else should we get? Leave that to me. I'll get the best fighters in the universe to fight for us. Black, go get Hit. I'll get the rest. Nodding, he flew off. This tournament wasn't turning out how he imagined. If they lost, they were erased from existence, and the one guy who he was worried about turns out to be stronger than a god. Can't lie though, this does get my blood pumping. He said, smirking a bit and increasing his speed. Thanks for watching my video. Leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.